As there's a drive in a deep left field by Castellanos, it will be
Oh
a
man,
home
it's
run.
8 o'clock.
And so that'll make it a...
I don't need the spotlight. I shine just fine.
Hi, I'm Karma, and yes, I am a bitch.
BravBros. Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of BravBros, your favorite podcast from the bros for everybody, for whoever wants to listen. I am your co-host, Steele Russell, joined as always by the one and only Shooter Magooter. Shoots, what's up, dude?
Everything sucks.
Yep.
Really just everything sucks, honestly. It's just sadness all around. Really rough day. I had to watch probably one of the most boring baseball games I've ever seen in my entire life.
That was the worst game of the season. That what Shooter's referring to. The Phillies just got embarrassed on national television playing the Diamondbacks. It was an atrocious game all around. The only run we scored was on a wild pitch. It was just bad baseball. It was not fun to watch. We're both depressed. I am a shell of a human being. I am disgusting. I am so sick. I don't feel good. My head hurts. I'm feverish. And I was like, you know what? At the very least, I can watch my guys on TV kick the crap out of the Diamondbacks, go 3-0 in the series, and then have a chance to win it all tomorrow. But no. They arguably made me feel
win
worse.
It all.
Sorry, win the NLCS. My bad.
Yeah, I mean
But instead, I think I feel worse than my sickness is making me feel by watching that game.
Watching that game made me sick. I'm not even gonna lie.
You're
Watching that game made me sick. Like I am now under the weather. And the worst part was I got home and I'm like, all right, what can I do to kind of cheer me up? Oh, there's an anime that I really like that comes out on Thursdays. Let me watch that. I watched this episode and it was like the worst cliffhanger. Maybe the main character dies, maybe he doesn't, and like the animes just don't follow fucking rules, so the main character could be fucking dead, and we'll never know. So I gotta wait another fucking week. And watching week by week for shows is one of the most gruesome things ever. We've gotten so engrossed in watching things, and like I know we do it with Bravo. Bravo is not like nearly as it's not scripted, so it's not like a cliffhanger necessarily. Yeah. But I mean, when we watched like Game of Thrones on HBO, you watch it week by week and you're like, fuck, now I got to wait another week, figure this out, see what happens. Yeah, I thought watching this was just going to cheer me up, and it just didn't. It made things even worse. So now here I am. At least I'm not talking about fucking OC. Week 1, baby. Week 1, not talking about Orange County. Real happy town population me, population Steel. And we're here. We're here.
Yeah,
that's all I'll say. It's gonna be a sad show.
2-1. No, we're gonna pick up the vibes. We're gonna change the vibes a little bit. Just because I'm dying and the Phillies stunk tonight does not mean we're gonna be a bummer the whole time. But to your point about watching shows week to week, the pandemic ruined that because everyone was streaming entire seasons. Like they were just dropping material weekly, and you could watch 15 episodes of a show without having to wait. Fast forward to now, they're going back to like the weekly drops, and it is gruesome. I can't deal with it. Like I lose interest in shows now because I'm like, I can't wait. And the good thing with that is I end up at some point in like 4 months after the show's done, I'll go back and like binge it, but not intentionally. I just forget about it because my brain is stupid and I forget the show airs week to week. And then I'm like, oh yeah. And then I've got like 10 episodes. So that's nice. But oh, I'm so gross. But let's jump into some Rose and Thorn. Maybe that'll cheer you up, pal. You want to go first?
It's not going to because and this is the thing is I should be happy because I really didn't see anything that was Thorn worthy necessarily. People have been nice to us all week, which is great.
There's a lot of positives
for the most part. So like I had to go picking as far as my Thorn was, and I'm not really sure how. I don't know if you missed this, I missed this, we all missed this, but my Thorn is a review, and I read it like 20 minutes ago too. And even though we beat the Braves, it doesn't fucking matter because I'm still pissed off. But this one, this one gave us 4 stars. Great podcast, only giving you 4 stars because y'all Phillies fans, and I hate Bryce Harper. Go Jalen and Travis. I'm not really sure about that one. Travis Kelce
Hurts and Travis Kelce.
Jalen Hurts. I guess Jalen because he was, well, that's Alabama. That's not Georgia. I don't really know. Doesn't really make a whole lot of sense for me. But Braves fan, who dat? Sucks to suck, Nay 6283. Have fun golfing
Yeah.
all off season. But thanks for
Yeah,
the
we're
4
still in
stars.
the playoffs.
Still love you, but you know, it's funny that we're reading this now. Actually, wait a minute. This was actually posted the day after we clinched. So that really sucks.
That's weird.
Really,
That was just
I'm really sorry.
an angry review. That was an angry 4-star.
I love an angry 4-star. That's so
That's a
fucking
good
funny.
one.
And my rose, I actually already touched on this. We don't have to talk about OC today, baby.
That's
I'm
a great
pumped.
rose.
I am
Great
so pumped.
rose.
And look, I know that we only have to talk about Salt Lake today. So it is a little sad because we don't have 2 shows to mix it up and kind of like throw things around. But as soon as I realized that we only have 1 show to talk about, why do we only have 1 show to talk about? It's because OC's dead.
If there was ever a time to only have to do 1 show, it's tonight because I'm not kidding you. I feel like I'm dying slowly. But anyway, let's get to my rose and thorn. So my rose is this, and I love when I hate to say it, but I love when we influence, and this is an influencer comment from Rosie Valdez 6130. You guys influenced me to watch Roni. I love it. Thank you for your service. Love that. Love that you took our word and you gave it a shot. You went in there unbiased and you enjoyed the show. I wish more people took that route, but people are going to still hold on to the OG thing. Now,
that seems more like an industry. It's like an industry BravBros plug. Her name was Rosie, and it's talking about something that we've been talking about all season. We didn't post that, all right, everybody. Before,
no, we did not.
I know we try to convince people to put their tinfoil hats on all the time, but we didn't do it, all right. And look, this is the other thing. Actually, that should be my rose. My rose is my work gave me a ring light, so now I'm all bright and shiny over here.
Oh wow, good for you.
Yeah, well,
I've got 6 lamps in here because there's no overhead lights. Yeah, YouTube.
I don't
one
have
for you guys.
Either.
My thorn is this, and it's confusing, and I don't know what this is in reference to, but it's from one of our YouTube videos, and it was the F off Andy, which is when we were talking about OC's reunion, and it's from Char McShane 3517. And he says, just go knock on the door. Tell them who you are. And would they mind if you could see your old room? People actually do this. And amazingly, the new owners let them in. It all depends on how you present yourself. But I don't think you have the balls to do this.
You definitely don't have the balls to do it.
To do what?
To go to your childhood home and knock on the door. We talked about this on
reference to
last Thursday. We talked about you go. Yeah. What do you mean? We talked about your childhood home that you drove past.
I forget things almost instantly. Yeah, so that's why I was confused. First off, buddy, if you think I don't have the balls, the next time I go to Texas, I'm literally going to go live on Instagram now and knock on my old house and be like, "Hey,
don't
man,"
do that.
Which
that's embarrassing.
I did find out, by the way. I found out that the owner of that house up until recently was the head trainer at TCU, which is kind of cool.
Horned frogs, purple boys.
Horned frog, woo! But yeah, that was my thorn because I did not know what that was in reference to. Thank you for clearing it up. But I didn't appreciate them assuming that I don't have the balls to go and check it out.
Well, for the love of God, please do not show up at that person's house and have your phone in your hand like you're recording, because that's some clout chasing weird TikTok shit that you will get shot for in Texas, I'm sure.
There's some weird rules in Texas. If you're running away from a house, they can still shoot you. It's the only one of the only states that you can do that. Where if you're running away from a home, they can still shoot you in the back. But
is that like the mobile version of Stand Your Ground?
Yeah. I can't think of anything clever to call it right now, but yeah.
I can't, neither can I. Turn and run.
Turn and run. That is also your ground. He's still. Oh, I got it. He's still on your ground.
This is great.
Anyway.
You're sick. You're sick. I had like 5 beers watching the Phillies game. This is a great episode for all the fans.
Off to the races, baby. But let's jump right into some RHOSLC. And I saw a lot of posts about this episode beforehand in regards to Monica and her mom. And I want to focus on that for the most part. So we're going to get there pretty quickly. But we start out with the Easter Bunny invitations. Now, is it a cute idea? Sure. If a man sat in my car unannounced in a bunny costume, I would beat the shit out of that bunny. There's no way I would react like Heather did. I would be panicked, and I would
that
definitely
bunny's
hit
there
that.
too. That bunny is there for one reason, and it's to kill me.
Yeah, I'm
That
immediately
I
going like
figured that
horror
was
movie.
Yeah, I figured that was kind of choreographed. I don't think that was legit because how did the bunny get into the car unless Heather just leaves her car unlocked all the time, which is crazy.
She looked genuinely scared.
I think Heather's a
A-
pretty good actor. Well,
And
hold
then,
on.
well,
Stop me if you've heard this before. Did you know that Angie was Greek?
I did.
I had no
Yes, I
fucking
did.
idea. Here we
I
go. A
did.
Greek Easter. Everything that she does has to be Greek. I'm
does.
just tired of it. I'm tired of it. I get it. We know you're Greek. I can read your last name and I know you're Greek. I don't care anymore. Not everything that you have to do. And I get that there was some like little things towards the party itself that was Greek influenced, but it was
The whole
just
party was
over the
Greek.
top. It was over the top. It was
So
the Easter party.
here's my thing. All right, and I've commented on this before about, like, I think that for any housewife that wants to give props to their culture and where they came from, I think it's a good premise, right? However, when it's your only identity on the show, I think is where it runs a little dry. And that's what, like, when the mom, Linda, gives her dad a kiss and does like the cheek kiss, she's like, oh, she knows the Greek kiss. I'm like, no, that's a very, very general hello for multiple cultures. That's not
I
a
think
Greek
her
thing.
dad said that too. So maybe it's not even Angie's fault. Maybe Angie's dad just turned everything into Greek. Just like
I don't
everything
know.
we do. Hey, fancy Greek dinner over here. And it's just like pasta. It's like, well,
But anyway, let's get back to it. Oh God.
ew.
Yeah, I know. I'm gross. But Whitney and Justin are going out to dinner. And I guess because we don't get that many scenes with them, and when we do, it's kind of face value. We don't really dive into the dynamic of their relationship, but they don't seem to be doing great. And like the
No.
minute they sit down, it's really awkward. And that might have been production cutting out a bunch of conversations, but they seemingly don't talk till the drinks arrive. But they start to dive into some issues that they're having. And we do know that they have not been communicating well. That is
Yeah.
pretty upfront. But when Whitney explains her side of things, I was like, yeah, that's pretty shitty because she was trying to get the kid. She's still working full time, right? Like she has a job. She has multiple companies that she's running. Justin is just now back onto the workforce and she's talking about she's getting the kids ready for school. She's making them breakfast. The dog pisses on the couch. It's total mayhem. The kids are fighting. And instead of Justin helping out in that situation, he's just kind of ignoring the whole thing. And to the point where the bacon burns. And for me, it's like, dude, just get off the couch. Like, get off the couch. I'm sure that
Yeah.
I feel like when Whitney tells stories, it's not the whole story all the time. But at the same time, I can 100% see this being a scenario where he's just sitting there like scrolling on his phone while she is in a panic.
Yeah. No, I fully get that. And honestly, I feel like this scene it was pretty tough. It was pretty tough to watch overall.
Yeah.
And we usually like when families, spouses, relationships, they kind of get into the nitty gritty and open up a little bit to us. Not this time. I didn't like it this time. I usually
No, it
do
seemed
say
too
like I
real.
want more, I want more, I want more. This seemed way too real. And I think that I really had to look inward on this to think maybe I do like the fake coupley dinners where they talk about their lives together because at least it's like, all
Yeah.
right, this is kind of nice. Like this was way too real. Everything they were talking about, I'm like, ugh, oh, that doesn't seem like a good relationship. He hasn't worn his wedding ring in how long? And it's just
I
sitting in the
don't
drawer.
know.
At first, I thought it was like a throwaway, like kind of like the
No.
Pavitt thing, where it was like, oh yeah, it really hurt me to see that you didn't have your wedding ring on. And then she said, yeah, it hurts me every day to see your wedding ring in the drawer. I'm like, Jesus Christ, what's
Yeah, he's
going on
making a
here?
choice. That's a choice to
Yeah,
not wear
like
it.
that's a full-on choice. And I mean, I don't know. I don't think that a lot of news. I mean, we had some little bit of news about their relationship and how it was on the rocks, and it's going to be kind of on display for this whole season. But at the same time, I don't really want to see that much of a real situation. It was uncomfortable. It
No,
really was. And I think,
especially
well, I think that for those types of situations too, it can provide a little perspective because you get to see them do that on there and you kind of think like, whoa, this is actually reality TV. This is probably what a lot of couples go through. So at the same time, you do have that hint of well, this could be good for somebody who's struggling with the same thing. Like, you get to watch two people on screen and be like, wow, okay, maybe I'm not alone. I don't know. I was really trying to find the silver lining to this
I
because
don't know if there is one.
I was that uncomfortable.
Well, especially when it ends with, she's like, I feel like I go it alone. And he just says, don't. Well,
Don't.
Justin, like for her to feel like she's not going it alone, you have to make the effort to like be there for her. And
Yeah.
that's where like the sex thing gets called into question earlier. And he's like, I don't want to be the one to initiate sex. And she makes a really good point. It's like, if you want to have sex, I have to feel like I'm connected with you. And I don't feel that. And that's fair. Even in a marriage, it's not like sex is guaranteed. You still have to have a connection with one another. So for him to be like, well, because she says it's not all about sex. He says, well, it is for me. And I'm like, what are you implying? Again, a weird thing to say. And then you finish it with, don't feel that way. Well, then give her a reason to not feel that way, Justin. Like, you're not coming out looking great here. You're coming out looking like a neglectful dad. You're coming out looking like a neglectful partner that weirdly doesn't wear his ring. And from what she made it sound like, he doesn't wear his ring when they get in a fight. It's like they fight and then he takes that bitch off and
So
doesn't
that's like
wear
his
it. It's
trump card where it's like, yeah, we got into a
it's like,
fight, so I took my wedding ring off to show you how mad I am. And it's like, well, that's kind of
that's
shitty.
a
Where are
weird
you going when you
statement.
take your ring off? Are you going?
That's
Well,
what
he's
I'm
Mormon, so he's
saying.
probably not going to the bar, but like he's going somewhere without his wedding ring, and it's bad. It's really bad. It was really tough to
It's just
watch.
bad.
And usually in those situations, we kind of poke holes in it and say, well, you're embellishing here, you're embellishing here. It didn't seem like Whitney was embellishing at all. It was just
That's why it was
she was making
uncomfortable.
points, and you got to imagine that he's being incredibly ungrateful. Dude was unemployed for how long? I know he had a
A year.
non-compete, so he gets paid, but he does get paid during a non-compete. That's how that works. That's the trade-off that you get. So it's not like he wasn't bringing in money. So it sounds like he was just being a schlub the whole time. And now he's back. He should be happy being back and full-time employed, and he's not. He's
Well,
nervous
for
about
me,
all of that, and then it
it
seems like he's putting everything
sounds
back on the back burner.
it sounds to me like now that he's working full time, he's assuming the role of like the traditional family where the husband goes to work, the wife takes care of the house and the kids. That's what I
Yeah.
get from it.
You
And I
think that's
think that's shitty
generational, or you think
because
that's Mormonism?
I
A little
think
bit of
you could
both?
argue it's both. Yeah, I
Yeah.
could argue it's both for sure. But the next scene, we get Lisa and Angie candle making, and the only
What's
thing that
the
happens in this scene is like the Meredith talk and saying that Monica is just as liable for this as Meredith. And that's weird to me because for Lisa to imply that after she got taken down by Meredith last year, attempted to, Meredith's playing the same playbook. All Monica did was tell Angie what the rumor was,
Yeah.
which is what Meredith wants. Meredith sets it up, right? She says there is a rumor, and then somebody else drops the bomb so Meredith can walk away clean. Lisa implies that they're both just as guilty, which I do not think is true, but I thought it was crazy that Angie invites Monica to the lunch, but not Meredith if they're on the same level. Like that's a
I
bizarre
think
move.
I don't know, because I felt like Angie wasn't necessarily, I don't know, she didn't really have the time to be grateful that the rumor was brought to light. But at the end of the day, like, if we were to analyze things in a logical way, Monica was talking to Whitney about it. Maybe Monica wanted to tell Angie about it, but she didn't want to do it alone. And obviously, there was a lot of shakiness going on there. They wanted to take shots before they talked to Angie about this whole thing. They wanted to make sure they were in a good, safe space, blah, 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 whatever. I don't know. I mean, I think it seems like Angie wants to reconcile some sort of friendship with Monica, and she doesn't want that with Meredith. So that's really what it comes down to,
Oh
where it's
yeah,
like
that's a
I'm
good
picking
point.
and choosing here rather than not inviting both of them because I feel like they're both culpable. I'm going to invite Monica because I feel like I can smooth this over. And we don't really know the ins and outs of their relationship. We get a little bit of this and a little bit of that. Obviously, they came together more through the whole Jen Shaw thing. They feel like they can commiserate with that because they went through something similar. They were betrayed by a friend, so on and so forth. So maybe there is a little bit more there and they went through more than they're letting on at this point. But I do understand that part of it where I think that she wants to keep a friendship with Monica and not Meredith, which fully makes sense to me because Angie and Meredith have never vibed. They never made any sense to me as friends, and that's okay. You're on the same show. We talk about it all the time. I'd rather them not be friends on the same show than them to force some weird friendship and just break up and be friends and break up and be friends. It's annoying. So at least it's kind of real in that aspect. So I didn't see any issues with that, but I did think that Lisa was kind of spinning the wheels a little bit on Angie, saying, well,
But that's what she
Monica's
does.
responsible for this. Exactly. Monica's responsible for this too. I didn't hear anything. And yeah, Monica did go down a little deeper than she had to, but that just seems like who Monica is. And Lisa wanted to spin that into her new friend, Angie. And I'm wondering if this is what we're going to get from Lisa. Is Lisa going to shit stir the whole fucking season? Is that where she's going to go for this? Because I don't really want that. I want Lisa to be authentic. I'd rather her not take the role of a shit stirrer because it's going to blow up in her face.
I feel like what happened was last year, Lisa found her identity a little bit when she got away from Meredith for an entire season. Was no longer like Meredith's lackey. I feel like she got a voice, and I feel like this season she's trying to make a statement. And so every time she has the opportunity to do so, she's going overboard with it. And I agree. I don't think it's the best look all the time. And it's also this weird, like, there's this self-righteous air about her this year where she's better than everybody else and she knows better than everybody else. And I don't care for that. Honestly, it's not my favorite look.
No,
I like Lisa. I think she's good for the show. This is a different side than we've seen. And it's not different in a way that we haven't seen glimpses of it. It's way more in our face this time than it was in previous seasons. So I'm curious how it's going to play. I don't think she's going to keep coming out of these things unscathed. She's dodged a couple bullets in fights, but I think it's going to come crashing down at some point.
I think it has to, honestly. And I mean, she is clumsy at the end of the day. She doesn't think about everything. She's not as, you want to say, precise with her shit stirring. So I agree with you. I think that it is all going to come crashing down. I'm here for that because that's good TV.
I am too. Yeah, that'd be great TV.
I want to see that.
But moving on, we get a very weird scene with Mary and her son. Her son is exactly what I pictured. Like, if you asked me what Mary's son is like, I would have explained that man sitting on the couch. She asks him, there's a rumor going around that you're married. Are you married? And he doesn't really answer. He goes, maybe. What do you mean? Yes or no, buddy? This is a big question. Because, by the way, like, if she has all of this church money and you're married and you get divorced, that bride might be entitled to some of that estate. Like, there's different things at play here that could potentially affect your whole family.
Right.
So I think it's a weird move to not tell her. One. Two, they live in the same house. The wife and the son.
Yeah.
The wife and the husband. Son. I can't talk, man.
You can't talk. God. All three of them live in the same house. Mary, her son, and the wife.
Thank you so much. Good God. But how on earth do you live under the same roof and not know that? And then it comes to light. She's like, yeah, they live here, but I don't really see them. I'm so curious about this woman's life. Like, I can't get over it. Her house is massive. Did you see that house? It's
it was
incredible.
Insane.
Like, I couldn't believe it. So, like, how much money do they make from this church? I need a documentary about Mary's church. Like, I need it.
You're focusing on the wrong things. You're focusing on the wrong things right now. You're going deeper into Mary instead of just what this scene was, which was her son is exactly like her. Her son is exactly like her. He is aloof. He doesn't answer questions. He's straightforward sometimes and then just will stop talking randomly. It was so goofy to watch the two of them interact as mother and son. It made zero sense to me. And at the same time, it somehow made a lot of sense to me because it's exactly what I pictured would have happened. It was the weirdest thing to see. And he's laughing the whole time. And then he finally says it. And as soon as he says it, we get Mary and then Mary's confessional talking about it. And it's like, well, I kind of understand why he didn't want to tell you that this is what they were doing. Now, I don't know. I mean, he's 20 years old. He's just kind of doing shit on a whim, it seems like. Who the hell knows? Maybe they'll stay together forever and they'll be like the picturesque of love. Maybe. Who am I to say? But at the same time, I do understand why he didn't want to tell her because she had so many interactions. Her first thing was, well, he's going to have to live and learn. And he needs to be smarter than this. And he makes mistakes. It's like, Jesus Christ. Like, maybe he wanted to marry this girl and he was afraid to get your blessing because you weren't going to give it. That's what I thought of right away.
The one positive I'll take away from it is we see a side of Mary that we've never seen before. Like, she is emotional. She breaks down a little bit and says, like, I want you to be able to talk to me about anything. I was like, okay, like, that's a normal parenting response. Like, that was a real moment. And I did appreciate that from her because we don't get a lot of those. So to see her just be in touch with her emotions for a little bit was a nice reprieve for me. But moving on, we get Heather FaceTiming with her daughter. And the only reason I'm bringing this up is because I am in the middle here. I'm stuck on the fence because Heather's big issue with Jack Barlow on this mission is that it goes against everything that she believes in for Lisa to send her kid off without knowing the ins and outs of what a mission entails. It's not so much like don't do it because I'm anti-Mormon now. It's more so I feel like it's my obligation to let her know like what this brings, like what he's going to do, that it's pretty much Mormon boot camp, that when he comes back, he's probably going to be a very different person than the Jack you're sending away. And for a family that's clearly not devout, like if we go through the things like later when Lisa's talking to Heather at the party, she's like, I would wear this to church and I would do this and I own a tequila company, blah, blah, blah. It's like, yeah, well, you're not really a Mormon. You're not following the Mormon faith to a T, which is a very different experience with Mormonism. That's like what's highlighted by Heather. She's like, yeah, if that was the Mormon church, I would have a very different impression of it. But that's not the Mormon church. And we know enough now by watching this show. And me, I love Mormon documentaries. I think they're so interesting.
Yeah.
So when you're talking about the Church of Latter-day Saints, it is a very, very overpowering culture. So I think for Heather to want to tell her friend, hey, just be aware of X, Y, and Z is not inappropriate. But at the same time, I understand that's Lisa's son. It's their relationship. Is it really her place to step in?
No, it isn't. But I think that we talked about this a couple of weeks ago. It was during I don't know if it was the ski party or no, it was Heather's party. It was her snow party, whatever the hell that was, the snowballs. We talked about Heather, maybe you don't butt your head in here. Maybe you don't push your agenda
Right.
of the Mormon church onto somebody else. But as soon as she started talking to her daughter, it seems like her daughter knows Jack pretty well. It seems like they were classmates. They maybe ran in the same circles. Who the hell knows? But as soon as she told her daughter had a genuine reaction like, oh, that doesn't seem like something he would do, which makes me think. And going back to the scene where Lisa has to talk to the candle maker and find out that the candle girl knew more than she did and knew earlier than she did. So there's a lot going on here. It makes me think that Jack's doing this to spurn the family. He wants to go do this because he wants to get away from the family. I think what Heather's trying to say, and maybe she's just not articulating it well enough that we can really understand this, but if I want to put my own thoughts into this, I think Heather is trying to come from a place of, this isn't something you do to try to spurn your family. This isn't something you do to get away from your family. This is a serious thing. If you're going to go over and go on a mission trip for the Mormon church, you're going to be the Mormon church. You're going to be further into the Mormon church. You're going to be indebted to them. You're going to be further into their culture. There's going to be a lot more going on here. This isn't some like rebellious teenage thing that you do to get away from your mom, which everything that Jack has done, everything that Lisa has told us about what Jack has done and not telling her about this, it seems like he's rebelling against his parents. He doesn't want to talk about it. He's going to go do this. Now, whether there's a friend that convinced him, whatever, but you get so much in just that little reaction from Heather's daughter saying, it doesn't seem like something that Jack would do. That doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me. So that's what I think Heather's coming from. I think Heather's saying, I don't know how to tell Lisa this. I don't know how to go to Lisa and say, look, like he's doing this to rebel against you and it's going to get him further into the church. And like you just said, Lisa's not really following the church to a T. So there might be some issues moving down the line. You might just want to be careful. Maybe it's just not the right move. And look, I get it. You know, again, I still do agree Heather should not push her agenda. It's not her life. It's not her family. Don't do it. But I think she wants to come from a place of friendship and maybe some advice. And when you have a book called I'm a Bad Mormon, and you have your whole life going on here, it's hard to come across that way. And I don't think she knows what to do. I think she just needs to take a step back and just let this happen because there's nothing you can really do.
Yeah, I agree. And it's a tough situation, but I think you're right. I think it's a rebellious teen thing, which again is a crazy move to rebel and be like, I'm going on a mission for 2 years. And
yeah,
I saw a clip of Lisa dropping them off at the airport, like on Instagram. So I think he's there. I think he's gone.
Yeah.
So he's on this mission now. So I'm curious what we're going to get in 2 years when he comes home, because there's no contact really. Like when they're gone on these missions, they are gone for 2 years straight. Like they don't come home. You don't see them for 2 years. So I don't know. We'll find out. But Let's jump right to the Greek Easter, and Mary backs out, which is the least surprising thing ever. And here's where
Yeah.
I do have an issue. And she was talking with Meredith at her house before the party, and she's like, I don't want to get involved in the monotony and this and that. It's like, look, you may not want to, but that's what being a housewife is. Okay. At the end of the day,
She's a
like,
friend
I know
of.
yeah, but it doesn't matter. Like, if you want to, again, I don't need her to take center stage, but you have to be there. Like, you got to be present. And I don't think that Andy's happy with her this season. Like, there's a
He's
lot,
not. And
especially after that bizarre Watch What Happens Live where she body shamed somebody. Oh, she body shamed Heather. It was awful. And like, Heather looks great in the corset, and she wants to say, like, I didn't know that Gucci made like a size 14. It's like, dude, shut up. Like, that is such a
yeah.
brutal thing to say. Heather looks great. Leave her alone. I'm not getting enough out of Mary now. And like, I was on board with like her little clips here and there. They were funny, but to just bow out because you had a flood in your house a year ago is fucking nuts. Like, that's brutal. Like, show up to the
No,
party.
that's not why she was bailing out. She was bailing out because she didn't want to go. She said as
I'm
much.
well
She
aware.
just made it. Yeah, I know she made an excuse. Angie knew that though. You could tell from Angie's reaction, like, "Whoa, wow, okay, weird." Everybody knows that Mary's going to bail out of this. And the other thing that Mary said on Watch What Happens Live to Andy is, "I came back because you needed me to save your show."
Right.
She's not saving the show. She's just kind of taking a
No.
place of like comedic relief in some way. And that's really all she's giving. And I'm looking at it from just an entertainment value. I still don't really care. I do not care.
Okay.
I don't need her there all the time. I need her there sometimes. The show is good. If we leave Mary out of this, the show is
good.
fine. I have no
Yeah,
issues with
no,
the
it is.
show at all yet. Maybe the end of the season gets a little weird. We don't know. I don't want to speak too soon. But for what it is, I'm okay with what Mary's doing. I just don't think she gives a shit. I think that she
She
knows
really
I'm in a
doesn't.
friend. I am in a friend of role. I'm not in a housewife role. You can't tell me what to do. You can't tell me which events to show up for and which not to show up for. In the moment, she's probably thinking, I went on the trip to Palm Springs. I had a scene with my son about whether or not he's married. I did this. I did a little bit of that. That's enough for me. I don't need to go to all these things. That's Mary. That is Mary to a T. And she does not want to go any further than this. So she's going to pick and choose her things. I don't need her to show up anymore because what we're going to get is what we got last week at the Ski Après thing, where she walks in and goes, whoa, this is crazy. What's going on over here? Oh, wow, there's a lot of drama over there. Like, I don't give a shit. She goes over there and says nothing. And then she makes one little quip to Heather, and it's like, okay, like, it's whatever. I don't need her there all the time. I really don't. She's fine. She really is where she is. But yeah, everybody knows she's lying. As soon as if Angie knows that you're lying right away and that's her reaction, then everybody knows you're lying.
Well, yeah, I didn't believe her, for the record. I was just saying,
you were looking it up. You were like, what floods in Las Vegas?
I was saying that it was like a wacky excuse. Like, you had a flood a year ago, and now you have to go at like the day of the party. You're like, oh, I got to go check it out.
I think that's the level of which she doesn't give a shit, is that she will throw away some weird flood excuse and just be like, yeah, okay.
The best part, she's like, I genuinely feel bad. She's like, well, it's good you have feelings. Like, I love that she has
Mary
to
laughed at that.
Like, no, I do feel bad.
And Mary laughed at that too.
I know. Which is, I do not know. Like, I can't get a read on her, but
yeah.
I did appreciate the background of Angie's father, that he moved to the US and he was a widower at 44. So, you know, that I like getting the backstory there. It was sweet to see, like, you know, he worked his ass off for his family. That stuff's always cool. And I loved Sean's retort to Heather when she's like, oh, where did you get your clothes custom fit? And he's like, oh, from my gay boyfriend. I was like, that's funny. That's a funny comeback.
I don't know. I didn't think it was funny. I thought he was forcing that one. I really thought he was forcing that. I think it was premeditated. I think he was going to say it no matter who said anything about his clothing or decor,
I agree with that.
or anything. I think he was ready for it, and that was his one little one-liner for the night, and he was done. And that's exactly what he was going to do. You thought it was funny?
I agree with you 100%.
I'm not so sure that the rumor is not untrue. Wait,
that's a very
not true
good way to say it.
I'm not so sure that the rumor's not true. Yeah, not untrue. But when he says that, it doesn't tell me that it's true or not. It's just, you know, I think he's trying to deflect.
I thought it was funny. I think
you're sick, and I think your level of what humor is a little low right now, and that's okay. If you need some joy, you need some happiness, and you found some happiness in Sean's little quip, I'm going to give that to you.
I did. So leave me alone. But everyone gets there, and I just wrote down LD comes in hot, and that's Monica's mom, LD, which I didn't know that we called her LD, but
I
LD
guess it
comes in
stands
a
for
little hot.
Linda.
Linda. But she
That's
comes
what
in.
that was my thought immediately.
I don't know what her last name is. I'm assuming it starts with a
I have
D.
no idea, but I really hope
I
it's
like yours
I
better.
hope it's Linda.
Linda. Lin space DUH. Linda. But she comes in really hot and like, oh, are you single? Like blah blah blah. And I don't like Linda. I think
I
Linda
don't like
is
Linda
two-faced
at
as
all.
shit. And we're gonna get into it
I
in a
hate
second.
Linda.
We'll get into it. Just hold on. Just because I do want to address Angie's speech about Jesus was wild. And I think Heather's right. I think in that moment she's comparing herself to Jesus Christ. And I was like, oh
Yes.
my
Wait,
God.
hold on. She's comparing herself to the Greek Jesus Christ. Let's get that
Greek
right.
Jesus. Yeah, the Greek
Yes.
Jesus. But she like arguably mansplains like the resurrection of Jesus and then says, if he can rise above, so can we. Wait a minute. This man was crucified, buried in a cave behind a rock, and came back to life 3 days later. And for you, the metaphor is we can all rise above everything. It's like, it's a very different thing. You weren't crucified and stuck in a cave.
I
Like,
think
could you?
I think she would have been okay if she didn't go into weird details of Jesus's, crucifixion and pretty much draw comparisons to herself for like 5 to
She
10
didn't have
minutes.
to do that.
She
I
did not
know.
have
I
to do
wonder
any
how
of that.
long it actually went.
I'm sure it was way longer than what we saw for sure,
Oh, it
because
had
she
to
is
be.
not a very good public speaker. But at the very end of it, I think if she just kept it very short, did not compare herself to Jesus, and then at the end said, you know what? If he can rise above all the hate that he was getting in his life and still come back and make sure that, humanity's good, I think that we can all learn a lesson and rise above it. If she just did that and kept everything else short, I think it would have been okay. Obviously not the best speech of all time, but still would have been okay. It's just the fact that she was so clearly comparing herself to Jesus. She's a martyr.
But I think that's the MO of Angie is she's trying to do the
Yep.
most at all times to be iconic. She's like, I'm going to give this great speech instead of being like, okay, you've said enough. You're going to keep going to try to make this an iconic, heart-wrenching speech where everyone's like, oh my God, that was so profound. Thank you so
Yep.
much, Angie, for sharing your wisdom. But we get a double conversation. One is with Heather and Lisa Barlow. The other one is Angie and Monica. Heather's asking why Lisa's triggered about that whole thing that happened with Angie and Whitney, where Angie was upset with Heather for saying what she said, and Lisa takes it upon herself to be like, well, that really triggers me because where was that energy for me all of last year when I was getting crucified for everything that I was doing and all the rumors about me? And she turned that entire scene about her. And Heather's like, had no idea that there was a dark cloud, as she calls it, following them around. She's like, I thought that we were closer than this because Lisa says everything with us is like surface level. And I was like, damn,
Yeah.
that's kind of mean.
That's mean.
That's a pretty
That's
mean thing to
mean.
say. That's straight up mean. And she's like, I didn't think that at all. And then I do think that Heather kind of shoehorns in the Jack comment. She's like, and like, I would love to be able to talk to you about Jack. And I was like, not the right time to slip that in because it didn't land very well that you guys are closer, that it's not surface level. Like that didn't hit. And then you immediately try to talk about things that are not surface level. And I think that she would have done herself a favor to bring that up in a moment where it's not contentious. But now that there's contention there, if that's even a word, I don't know. But now that, sorry, I probably should just said tension. Regardless, it was a bad time to do that. And Lisa immediately locks up. That's where we get the weird middle ground of, I get where Heather's coming from. I also get where Lisa's coming from. However, I thought Lisa was really disrespectful in sort of belittling Heather's experience. She's like, the church that you grew up with and the church that I grew up with are very different. It's like, well, yeah, because Heather was a legit full-blown Mormon. She was all about the Mormon church. She followed it to a T. She did what Mormons are supposed to do. Lisa does the watered down version. which is what a lot of people do with religion. They pick and choose where they want to be devout, and then they kind of cast aside like the actual things that you need to do to be a full-fledged whatever. So I think that in that moment, by her saying like, you wrote a book called Bad Mormon, I want to raise Jack to be a good Mormon. It's like, well, Heather did not become a bad Mormon because she chose to do so. Heather became a quote unquote bad Mormon because the church is arguably extremely corrupt, misogynistic, racist, a lot of other things. And she took a stance against that. That's powerful. That's strong. And for you to say that it's almost her fault was ridiculous. I didn't like that at all.
No, I didn't like that at all either. And this kind of goes to show you what we were talking about earlier with Lisa finding a voice. I don't know if I like where Lisa's going. And this was one of the
It's a
things
weird
where,
route.
because aside from the, like what you said about the shoehorning in of talking about Jack and it not being the time, I thought that Heather was coming from a good place and she was kind of knocked off balance when Lisa said surface level. She did
Yeah,
not like that. I didn't like that. I was like, what the fuck is
I
that all
didn't
about?
either. I
Like
was like,
that's
mean.
mean. And Lisa's leaning into this like kind of like a mean-spirited friend anymore. And I don't like where she's going with any of that. Heather's coming from a good place. She wants to make sure that you guys are good. And I felt like between gaslighting and kind of going after Heather for no reason, Lisa did not look good in that conversation at all. I felt bad for Heather the entire time. Heather was just trying to squash it, just trying to keep things copacetic. Look, I didn't understand why you didn't like that I had Angie over. I thought we were friends. We've seen it across every fucking franchise. You're allowed to be friends with someone and not fuck with the other person. You're allowed to be friends with that
Yeah.
person and not fuck with the other person. Like that happens all the time. People stay out of it. It's a personal grudge. You're two women on a show. You have to see each other more than you'd probably like. You get it. It's fine. It's okay. That doesn't mean that I can't still be friends with them. I still have to film scenes with them. I still have to have uncomfortable situations where I'm inviting them to my house. And yeah, we might look like friends, but we're not friends. Lisa's just kind of honing in on that and just kind of picking fights with everybody. And
Yeah.
I do think that what we talked about earlier is going to happen. I think that everything's going to come crumbling down at some point. I think Lisa's strong enough where it's going to deflect, or she's this is kind of mean, but I think she's ignorant enough where she's not even going to realize that things are coming down on her head and she's just going to keep plunging forward. It's going to be a really weird dynamic moving forward. And we get a little bit more of that towards the mid-season trailer that we get at the end. I don't know. I liked Lisa a lot last season. I thought that it was good that she was finding her voice. Now I'm kind of eating my words.
Yeah, I'm curious what's going to be the straw that breaks the camel's back. Like, where is she going to overstep too much? And I do think we're going to see it. We're going to see it somewhere with somebody. But the last scene that I want to talk about is the conversation between Angie and Monica. And Angie asks her to pull her aside, and she's upset that Monica's repeating these rumors. But at the same time, all Monica did was tell you what the rumor was. Meredith's the one that said there's a rumor around. Monica and Whitney go to the side and they start talking to Angie. You're smirking. What's going on?
I'm not
What, you don't
smirking.
agree?
I disagree.
Oh, well, let's hear your take.
Monica went a little too far.
I
In the
agree
situa-
Monica went a
where
little
she
too far
sits
in
down
this situation.
just because, and I've seen people do this in real life. You feel like you're exonerated because you're the person who is, and this is what Monica kept saying, you're getting mad at me because I'm just telling you what I've heard. I'm making sure that you should be mad at everybody else who's been spreading it. As soon as Monica told her, which she told Whitney first and then obviously sat down, I didn't have a problem with that. As soon as Monica told Angie what was going on, she then took it upon herself to go over to Lisa Barlow and sit down. And not only did she tell Lisa Barlow what was going on, she then went further and said, there are boyfriends that are running around Salt Lake City saying that they are Sean's boyfriend and that they had sex with him. And there's a lot more going on. She went deeper. She used specifics. You don't do that. You are not exonerated. You are not some like, I don't know, peace treaty, like somewhere in the middle where you can't do anything wrong. As soon as you go over and you share more specifics with a third party who's not involved in this, you're now wrong again. So I think Monica is wrong. And I think that, I don't know if Angie, she kind of knows all of that. She's not great at saying the right thing ever. But when I watch that, I think Monica's way in the wrong.
Well, for me, it's like, I can see what you're saying, where she did go too far with it. However, And she's like, I wish you would have pulled me aside. And I did think, like, well, she did pull you aside and have the conversation. Did she go too far by telling other people? Sure. I agree with you there. But she did pull her aside. And I think that Angie's got all of her anger pointed at Monica. And I don't think that that's fair. I don't think that Monica deserves all of the the lashing out from Angie because there's other people involved in this. And Angie then goes like, "Well, I've heard shit about you." And she's like, "Well, bring it on. Like, what do you got for me?" And this is where Linda comes out of
LD.
nowhere. And this is why moms should not be involved in housewives because this was an uncomfortable scenario. This was not necessary. You don't need to come over and referee because it's not going to end well for your daughter. It's going to make, there's no scenario where this plays out that Monica's going to win now because you are trying to silence her in an argument that we've seen 1,000 times. We've seen people fight in front of kids. We've seen people fight at parties. We've seen people fight at charity events, homeless, not toothless. Like we've seen this shit time and time again. We do not need Linda coming in and trying to referee. And at the same time, my biggest issue with this is now she's trying to play like PC police. Like she is mom of the year. Like you're not going to do this at somebody else's house and this and that. We saw a peek behind the curtain last week, and I'm not going to let that go. When we hear about the phone call in which she thought she hung up, and then she's like, fuck you, fuck your fucking face, you're disgusting, blah, blah, blah. She says all that things about her daughter. We hear about their upbringing, where she eventually backed out of the Mormon church because she didn't agree with what they were teaching her kids. And then she's going to say on camera that you need to have Jesus in your life. You need to have a spiritual leader in your family. That needs to be you, this and that. She's playing this shit up for the camera. She's trying to come off as looking good, that she's a good mother. And to me, all I see is a narcissistic mom that emotionally abuses her child, that doesn't support her child, that in this moment, you have one of two options. One, grab her by the arm and say, Monica, don't do this. You're making yourself look bad. Let's get out of here. That's one way to deal with it. Two, you could back her up and be like, hey, or just stay out of it. Do not
Yeah.
go over there and take Angie's side because what she does is give Angie an out. Angie was coming at Monica. She was saying, I've heard rumors about you. She was being mean. But when Linda comes over, now Angie plays the, you know what? It's not the time. I don't want to do this here. I don't want to get mad. We're just trying to squash this. That wasn't the energy you had before Linda entered the conversation. And now Monica's catching all sorts of shit online. People saying, I would never talk to my mother like that. I would never do this. I would never do that. You don't know the ins and outs of their relationship. You don't know what her upbringing is. We see a confessional where she is shattered, saying, I wish I had a different mom.
Yeah, no, I fully agree. And I think that even without the peek behind the curtain that we got last week, we would still come out of this situation knowing exactly who Linda is. And I fucking hate Linda. Linda is a
Linda's
shit mom.
full of shit, dude.
Linda's
She is
a
full
shit
of
mom.
shit.
We can see her for who she is. I fully agree. She's playing it up for the cameras. She's trying to be nice. I felt super bad for Monica. Monica brought
Yeah.
her along, and she's got to be stuck in this weird, like, rock and a hard place where, yes, you know, my mom is in my life and I need as much help as I can possibly get because I'm a single mother and my mom is here willing to help, but I still have to eat shit from my mom all the time. And now I'm on a fucking TV show and my mom wants to show her face and she wants to flirt with my friend's dad. Inappropriate, disgusting behavior.
Mhm.
And now she's going to come over while I'm getting into it with a castmate and sit down and try to play the peacemaker while at the same time taking Angie's side. She's diminishing what Monica's doing. She's immediately assuming Monica's in the wrong. We get a glimpse into what kind of mother Linda is. A shit mom. She's the worst fucking
Yeah.
mom that I've ever seen. This is we like to see good arguments going on between the women on the show. And we like to see when family somewhat gets involved here and there because you get a little bit more of a dynamic. And I understand that. Linda, fuck off. You're not welcomed here. You came along. Monica did not need to invite you. Instead, you take Angie's side. You have no idea what's going on. You're immediately pushing Monica down and assuming that she's at fault, telling her to go to the bathroom over and over and over again. It was super uncomfortable. Monica rightfully gets fucking pissed off. And honestly, I watched Monica, and I don't know Monica. I didn't know Monica. I watched Monica turn into teenage Monica, which is probably
Yeah.
exactly where she was with her mom in her life. She went right back to teenage Monica, throwing a fit, freaking out, cursing her out, going back to Angie. She didn't know what to do because she's still trying to defend herself from Angie. And
She's
she
backed in
can't
a
because
corner.
her mom's in the way. Her mom's standing in the way, facing Angie and saying, I love your house. It's so nice over here. Like, fuck off. Like, get the hell out of here. You are not supposed to be here. I don't want to see Linda on the show ever again. I hope this is the end of Linda, because hopefully Monica wises up a little bit and says, you know what? These cameras around, get the hell out of here. You're two-faced. You suck. You're not doing me any favors. And now for Monica to be getting shit online, that's insane. These people who are watching, these people who watch that scene and are commenting online saying, I would never talk to my mother like that, you should be thankful that you have a good mother. It sounds like you have a good mother. And if you don't, then maybe you're just a spineless little bitch and you can't stand up for yourself. That's what it seems like. Monica was able to stand up for herself in a very uncomfortable environment, in a house that you've never been to before, in front of a bunch of people that you've never met before. You calmly, maybe not so calmly, but calmly in my mind, got your kids and left. And who the fuck stayed behind because they want to sit around and watch people throw money? Linda. She stayed behind in their house and had fun and had a smile on her face after her daughter just walked out with the kids. It's insane.
You know what I see? I
What?
see a woman that looks around the room, sees piles of money, sees this beautiful house.
Can we talk about
goes,
that
I
ritual or
want to-
procedure or whatever? What the hell was
Oh
that?
yeah, we can in a sec. But I just see her like, I want this. I want to be a part of this. She's trying to insert herself into this lifestyle. And look, this is not your place. Your place is to back up your daughter. Even if she's wrong, don't fucking single her out. It was like you said, we see her revert back to like teenage Monica. There's clearly trauma there, which tells me that there's much more to this relationship than we're seeing. And when she leaves, which is the right move, get your kids and go. And somebody commented, I read on one thread, they're like, and she didn't even let her kids stay for the Easter egg hunt. Like, blah. I was like, oh, shut up. Like, shut up. She got her kids out of that situation because it was an uncomfortable situation. She did what was right for her, got the hell out of there. But then we go like flash over to Lisa. I would never talk to my mom like that. As you said so well, you probably had a good mom, Lisa. You probably had a good relationship. There's so much more to this than we possibly can ever know. And until there's more information, everyone needs to butt out. And Linda can kick rocks.
I just can't imagine watching that confessional towards the end and then commenting that. Like, that's
Right?
insane. That's just
It's
like
just-
where
it's
there's
nuts.
no self-aware. There's no awareness actually at all.
But anyway, let's get to some questions so I can go hibernate for the next 24 hours and hopefully kick this thing. Excuse me. Up first. Oh, I love this. From Helena. Oh, man. Helena Newberry Grant. Got it. Not a Q. I hope everyone sees that Monica is trying to end toxic cycles in her family. She's too enmeshed. I hope that people see that too. I hope that people see that Monica is standing up for herself because of how tough she was raised and all the things she doesn't agree with her mom. And she's trying to do better. And she's also calling her mom out. We saw her call her mom out in front of an entire party and say, I don't know who you are or what you're doing, but knock it off because this is bullshit. And we saw right through it immediately.
Yep.
And I hope that more people do. From the comment sections, a lot of people did not. And that's a fucking shame.
It is a shame.
From Mary Had a Little, do you think Lisa is trying to take Monica down this season?
I don't know what Lisa's doing. We kind of touched on that a little bit. I don't know if she's trying to actively take anybody down. I think that she thinks that she's standing up for herself. Maybe trying to show a little spine here and there, but I don't know. I don't think Lisa's at the stage where Meredith is trying to take down people. I don't think Lisa's there yet.
Okay. From Max June, should LD and Angie's dad go on a date? Hell no. Because Angie's dad seems like a sweet man.
Yeah. Keep that man away.
Yeah, no, LD seems like a disaster. From Julie Bush 4300, borderline personality disorder ? And the picture was Monica. No, dude. What a brutal thing to say.
Yeah.
Julie, come
that's
on.
Tough.
No, she's not borderline personality. She was stuck in a rock and a hard place with her mom trying to single her out in front of an entire party and take the side of the aggressor. Like, come on. Absolutely not. I don't
Try to
like
have
that.
a little empathy, Jolie.
Yeah. Thank you for listening. We love you, but no. And the last thing here. Oh, this is a good one because on the picture I posted with the questions, it's where it's captioned with Monica saying, you can find your own ride home, dead ass.
Yeah.
Reenbeck 24 says, that's what I'd say to Kimbrel tonight. Find your own ride home. Dead ass.
Oh, thank God. Can we end on that
That's so
one?
good. Yeah, we can. And anybody
Sweet.
that didn't watch the Phils, Kimbrel blew it tonight. So
Yeah,
that was
if you're weirdly waiting till tomorrow to watch it and you have a TiVo or something, people still TiVo, right?
I don't know.
Nah, probably not. Don't. Just do yourself a favor and don't. Just don't even bother.
No, that was the worst game ever. I'm glad we got to end it on that note.
Yeah,
I'm
thank God.
sad again.
That was awesome. That's Hall
That
of
was a
Fame worthy.
great comment. That was wow.
We should have a Hall of
so
Fame.
good.
Well, at the end of the year, maybe we'll do a Hall of Fame.
know what?
That's a lot of manpower. We have to go through questions.
Here's the thing. Our 100th episode is next week. Maybe we'll do that for number 100. We'll do some Hall of Fame Rose and Thorns.
I gave us 2.5 months to achieve this, and you're like, you know what?
We have 6 days.
We've got 6 days, buddy.
6 days. Get it together.
6
It's
days in the middle of a
100.
playoff run. Yeah, that's great.
We have to do something for our 100th episode. We've been doing this for 100 episodes. That's wacky. Look at
That
us
is pretty
now.
crazy.
Who'd have
Check us.
thunk?
Sick and sad.
That's episode 99, though. Episode 100 will be happy and healthy, hopefully. But
Hopefully.
remember, we have a live show in LA November 19th at the Bourbon Room. It's a Friendsgiving with Zach Peter. Go to nofilterlive.com to get your tickets and follow us on all of our socials at Brav_Bros and subscribe to our YouTube channel at BravBros Podcast. Other than that, you got anything else?
I usually say go Phils, but no.
Yeah, they don't deserve it tonight.
Nope,
Go
not
Birds.
tonight.
How about that?
I like
BravBros are out of here.